It's safe to say that Gervonta Tank Davis and Rolando Romero are not fond of each other. If they were on the streets, they would have already faced off. Both fighters have been vocal about this match, even before meeting at a press conference in October of last year. Rolly has not only talked a lot about Tank, but also about the lightweight division. Romero believes that after facing Tank, the champions of the 135-pound division will also succumb to his boxing skills. It's only a matter of when. I'll say it like this: people avoid me for a reason, Romero stated. The Tank vs. Romero fight should have happened in December of last year, but after multiple sexual assault allegations were made against Romero, he was removed from the December 5th Showtime pay-per-view event, being replaced by the underrated but promising Isaac Pitbull Cruz. Davis faced adversity, injuring his left hand in the middle rounds, and, for the first time in his career, went the full 12-round distance. However, he fought well enough to secure a unanimous decision over Cruz. Nothing changed in the grand scheme of things. Romero was still the mandatory challenger for Davis's WBA regular title, and was more determined than ever not only to defeat Tank, but also to knock out the Baltimore native. Months after the Davis-Cruz fight, the investigations into the allegations against Romero were closed without charges being filed. With no more obstacles, the Tank vs. Romero fight was rescheduled for May 28th. Interestingly, this fight, which promises to be a big hit on Showtime pay-per-view, has received a mixed reception since its initial announcement. Many believe that Tank is simply a level above Romero. Although Romero is undefeated and a powerful puncher with unconventional angles, he will face his most challenging opponent to date. Moreover, the brash 26-year-old had a contested unanimous decision in his favor against Jackson Martinez, in a fight where Martinez seemingly did more than enough to win. Of course, a fighter can have an off night, and one bad performance shouldn't discredit Romero. It's important to note that Martinez is a fighter who likes to backpedal and use defensive tactics, which naturally makes it harder to score a knockout. Furthermore, fighters evolve, and Romero seems to have done so, especially considering his last two performances against Yigit and Jason Paldo, both of whom missed weight, with Yigit exceeding by a whopping 5 pounds. This means that, officially, Rolly fought an opponent in a division above his natural weight class. That fighting spirit, disregarding a clear disadvantage, is expected from Romero, who seemed destined for combat sports from an early age, starting judo at 9. Initially, Rolly wanted to follow in the footsteps of his sister, Angelica Romero, a 7-time national judo champion, but eventually gravitated towards boxing after his father encouraged him to trade in judo for boxing. Unfortunately for Tank, his introduction to boxing was not out of inspiration, but out of necessity. Both of my parents were on drugs. My mother left me and my brother alone in the house. They took us into custody. Gervonta Davis grew up around drug abuse and survived gun violence in Baltimore, which hardened his heart. At age 5, Davis was removed from his mother's custody by Child Protective Services. With his father in prison, Davis moved from foster homes to group homes, further hardening himself. By age 8, he was fighting older kids to defend his brother. His uncle, James Walker, observed one of these fights and, with financial help from another uncle, bought boxing equipment and took Gervonta to Calvin Ford's gym to get him out of the unfavorable situation he was in. For those who watched The Wire, Ford inspired the character Cuddy, a former stick-up man who did 10 years in prison for racketeering and conspiracy. Street talk boxing up in here, we ain't fighting, like the character on the TV show. Ford changed Tank's life by keeping him busy in the gym. According to Gervonta, if it weren't for the gym, he would have been on the streets, getting into trouble. Thanks to his talent, he was away from home most of the time, competing in tournaments. After a stellar amateur career with 205 wins and only 15 losses, Tank turned pro and never looked back. Unfortunately, some weren't as lucky, with Baltimore's gun violence taking the lives of Ford's son, who trained Davis, along with several members of the gym. My son wanted to go back to Jersey, and he commented you'd make a good role model for Gervonta. Since then, it was like my son was telling me he wouldn't be here anymore, for me to look after you. Such tragedies are a harsh reality. Davis was blessed not only inside the ring, but outside of it as well. Still hungry for more, Tank vs. Romero is sure to be a hit, thanks to Romero's promotion. However, Gervonta has future fights that could transcend boxing itself. A fight with Ryan King Ry Garcia would easily break the million pay-per-view by mark. 2 rounds, baby, 2 rounds. I don't care. You're on pause. 2 rounds. Interestingly, Romero gained notoriety after a leaked sparring session against Ryan, where Rolando got the better of the 23-year-old. Rolly only knows one way to fight full speed, and that's what makes Tank vs. Romero an underrated fight. It will be exciting while it lasts. As always, Romero will look to push the pace and wear Davis down, while Davis knows that if Romero makes one mistake, he'll likely be knocked out. With both fighters seeking to take control and not needing to look for each other in the ring, this one, like every Tank fight, promises to be explosive.